Shavuot to everyone. I want to thank our sponsors for this week, Donna and Robert Honig, Le'il Nishmat, our Chayal Yair Ben Yogev Cohen, and Edna, who died in battle 2 years ago today on the 7th of Shvat. I hate the expression fell in battle. I heard this from Hadassah Lowenstern, whose husband was killed, and she said they didn't fall in battle, they rose in battle. So Hashem Yikom Damo. Thank our monthly sponsors anonymously as a Schut for Shlema for Gittel Rivka about Esther Shifra. Thank Sandy and Steve Gratko sponsoring Le'inishmat Steve's parents, Shraga Feivel Ben Sender and Dina Bat Avraham. Julie and Richard Ehrlich, Le'inishmat Richard's mother, Rachel Miriam Bat Yona. Chai Nel Fuld, Le'inishmat their beloved son Hillel, Avashom and Yaakov Sheyichya, and Marsha and Lee Weinblatt sponsoring Le'inishmat Marsha's sister Gittel Bat Chaim Yisachar, and Lee's mother Chavariva Bat Aaron Yosef and Bracha. The Meshech Chochma this week is amazing in Parshat Bo. It's the longest of his commentary so far, over 20 pages. I could spend the whole week just sharing insights from the Meshech Chochma on Parshat Bo. Maybe I will. So one of the things that he says relates to a question that twofold. So the Gemara says that about the Jewish people and the Mitzrim, the Egyptians, Halalu Ovda Zara, Halalu Ovda Zara. Both were idolaters. So why were the Jewish people then singled out? We could say it was the merit of our forefathers and the covenant that God made with them, but it's not enough. And then the question is, so how is it possible that immediately they gave up idolatry and went to serve Hashem? How could there be such a sudden transformation? So Meshech Chochma explains on the pasuk, Mishchu ukechu lachem tzon lemishpachotechem. Moshe tells the elders of Israel, Mishchu, draw in animals from your flock and take for each family a sheep, and that'll be the Korban Pesach, and then he spells out the halachot of the Korban Pesach. The Mechilta says, Mishchu yidechem min ha'avodah zarah. Pull your hands, draw away from idolatry, and this is part of the weaning of the Jewish people away from idolatry. How does it happen? So the Meshech Chochma quotes the Medrash in Mishlei that says, asks the question, HaChochma hecha mitzuya, belev or berosh? Where is wisdom found? Is it in the heart or the head? And he took this up earlier in his Sefer as well, I recall. So he says, Barur, it's clear, obvious, the hargashot hemakulon belev. Emotions are rooted in the heart, like vengeance, courage, arrogance, anger, fear, etc. That's all in the heart. But the muskalot are barosh. The intellect is in the head, that which gives us intelligence and the imaginative faculty, the ability to understand things, the ability to remember. Virosh melech sheba evarim, the Gemara says. The head is the king of all the organs. But you have these two sources through which we understand and relate to the world, and in fact, even on some level, gain chachma from the world. And he says the way of the world is to focus on the hargashot, because the emotions are all bnuyot me'ateva, they're all built from nature, and therefore the nations of the world are idolaters, meaning everything is rooted in nature, and they endow nature with all these properties and qualities and even sanctity. He says, very interestingly, incorrectly, he says, just like the Muslims sanctify the grave of their Messiah in Mecca. So Muhammad's not buried in Mecca, he's buried in Medina, but the Meshech Chochma, Rameir Simcha, lived in Dvinsk in Latvia, probably never met a Muslim in his life. But these Hargashot, these what help give them a it helps their emuna, which their faith, whatever they believe in, which is based on what they could feel, what they could experience, what they can sense. It's all related to the senses. Not so the Jewish people. The Jewish people, we are a nation of intellect, a nation of mind, Rabbi Chait once called it, and therefore everything that we do, the Torah tries to move us away from the influence of the Hargashot, and into of the emotions, of the senses, and into the world of the mind. And that's why the Torah takes all these various emotions that we have, desires that we have, love, for example. And we're told, yeah, there is love. Use love. Love your family, your wife, your husband, your friends. Love your nation. Vengeance, take vengeance against God's enemies. Chesed, to do with others. Kindness to other people. Yofi, Zekeli Van Veyu, you have a love of beauty directed to Hashem, even time, etc. What the Torah does is take every aspect of this life, the hargashot that are in the lave, and says, use them to serve Hashem. Use them, and they'll become vehicles that the mind can use to approach Hashem. That's what happened in this case. That's what happened with the Korban Pesach. So mishchu, draw from Avodah Zarah, and instead of being involved in the fantasy world created by the idolaters through which they serve God, use these mechanisms of halacha in order to come close to Hashem. So how then did we return so quickly to the faith of our fathers? It's because it was all superficial, he says. Berega echad chazru le'emunato ha'amitit. In a moment, as soon as we needed to have the lid taken off, we naturally reverted to the faith of our fathers. And the proof of it was we took this sheep, this animal that the Egyptians worshiped, and put it right in front of the house so they could see that we were going to slaughter it. Idolatry is not inherent, is not innate to a Jew. It's the opposite. It's a foreign entity that we can repel almost at will, if not at will, and serve Hashem. And that really is the essence of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Shavua Tov.